Hello, writers. Hello, friends. In creative writing classes I've led, people expressed an interest in creating a regular writing practice or routine. This is a chance to build that practice. This is a chance to get some words on the page and check in with your creativity. This is Writerly Mindfulness. I'm Amanda Corbin, one half of Milestone Art Collective, and I'll be here every week as a part of my practice to share 3 things: an entry point, getting words on the page, a simple mindfulness technique to help us settle in, and 10 minutes of writing time. The entry point will be a prompt, an example, a concept, or something to help us get thinking and hopefully inspired to get some words on the page. Hopefully it helps you consider things you might not have otherwise, and allow for some serendipity. In my classes, I've always told people that whatever inspires you, go with that. So you can use the entry point as loosely as you like. Just go with whatever comes up for you. The mindfulness technique will be a simple exercise to help invite calm and stillness so our creativity can flow rather than being restricted because we're feeling tense. So don't worry if you've never meditated before, it won't be anything complicated. The reason I'm including this part is I've found that intentionally relaxing the body helps a lot with my mental state and letting the words come through. It just seems to open me up. So it's one of those things that I wish I had known a long time ago, that writing flows better when you're calm and settled and still. So I want to share that little hard-earned nugget. And then the 10 minutes of writing time is an attempt to dip into the flow state. I love free writing because it's unstructured, and I feel like it can be really creative when I approach it with an attitude of experimentation or practice or just curiosity about what's going to come through. So if you want to use the 10 minutes for free writing, think of it kind of like stream of consciousness, where you keep going to get down as much as possible as it comes to you, knowing that you can edit later if you like. I've told my students that free writing can be kind of like when you take off on a bicycle. You might wobble a little bit for maybe half a page or so before it evens out, and then you get into a stride and see where it leads. So our entry point for today, to support the concept of free writing and the permission to write something that isn't perfect, in that spirit, I have a poem by Mary Oliver called Praying. It doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lot or a few small stones. Just pay attention, then patch a few words together, and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, but the doorway into thanks and a silence in which another voice may speak. That's from her poem, or from her book of poems, Thirst. And because it's short and it's only 10 little lines, I'm going to read it again, see if it settles in a little differently if you hear it again. Praying. It doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lot or a few small stones. Just pay attention and patch a few words together, and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, the doorway into thanks, and a silence in which another voice may speak. I like the last 2 lines about the silence in which another voice may speak, because I think it could have many meanings, like most poetry. That's part of what I had in mind with this practice, is inviting stillness and silence so that you can hear your inner voice or some voice of inspiration, and that could be what she's referring to, or it could be something else. And I think often the end of a poem invites you to go back to the title, which is praying, so that silence You could hear the voice of a higher power. She could be talking about a spiritual practice. So it's up to us to interpret it however it's most helpful for us. I also like the doorway into things, the concept of gratitude. And I love the idea of creative acts as an expression of gratitude for the experience itself. And I like the concept of gratitude in general for the shifts that it can bring. And of course, I also like the use of the word doorway. I've been using the word entrypoint, but that's the same idea. So if we use this poem as an entry point or a doorway into our own writing, these words of hers are a doorway into what? We don't know until we start setting them down and see what words come through us. So hopefully there's something in there that is inspiring to you. Maybe you're working on something, or maybe you want to try free writing based on one of those images or the images that are around you now. So that's our entry point for today. Our doorway to the page is this Mary Oliver poem about paying attention and inviting silence in which another voice may speak. We're going to invite some silence right now. And I'm going to have a timer going for 10 minutes, so you don't have to worry about that. I'll let you know when the time is up. And like I said, just try to start. Just start and let the words flow. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can always come back and edit later if you want. Or it could be you're just journaling and this is just for you anyway, and it doesn't matter that it's rough. It all depends. With mine, I know I'm going to come back and edit later. So I'm just going to allow myself to write something rough and let it flow, and it's going to be rooted in the concept of paying attention, in observation and paying attention to what I see in my mind's eye. So with that, we'll settle in. The easiest mindfulness technique is a deep breath. We always have access to the breath. And it also makes me think of LeVar Burton reads. At the beginning of every episode, before he reads a short story, he starts with a deep breath. So we'll start with a deep breath also. And I invite you to take in a breath slowly in through the nose and then out through the mouth with the exhale longer than the inhale. I like to go for about 4 seconds in and then 6 seconds out, but do whatever feels good for you. You ever notice how there's a pause at the top of the inhale? Even if you're not taking a deep breath, just your natural breathing, there's a pause. And then at the end of the exhale, there's a little moment there where you're not inhaling and you're not exhaling. Just a moment of stillness. It's interesting to just watch your body breathe and pay attention in that way. Sometimes you can do that at any time in your day, just stop and watch the breath. That is the basis of meditation, basically. Paying attention and allowing without judgment. I'm going to unintentionally give a little crash course on mindfulness. That's not my area of expertise. It's just something I've learned a little bit about over the years and don't mind to share. So anyway, hopefully you're feeling calm and settled in, and we can start writing for 10 minutes. If you're wobbling, what image can you describe? Just put into words what you're seeing in front of you or in your mind's eye. Hopefully you're rolling along now. We're 5 minutes in. So with what you have so far, what do you want to pay more attention to? Or where else would you like to place your attention? What are you curious about? 2 more minutes. Is there another voice that might speak? That's 10 minutes. I hope you had some luck. I'll be back here next Monday so we can start our week with a little creativity. And until then, I'm wishing you inspiration, peace, and practice.